Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends podcast. The podcast is designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. This episode is the final part of this special 4-part December series. If you've been following along, I started by talking about embracing the plateau, what to do when growth stalls in your podiatry practice, then reigniting your purpose, rediscovering purpose in podiatry before the new year, and last week's episode we shifted into designing a better week. Small changes that make a big impact. Today, I want to finish strong by talking about goal setting, but with a twist. Because I believe that most podiatry business owners don't need more goals. What they really need is to solve better problems. So let me explain why I think traditional goal setting often fails. This time of year, everyone's talking about goals. And I'll admit, it's a conversation I have with a lot of my coaching clients and also something I think about myself. But when most people set goals, they will say things like, I want to grow my clinic. I want to make more money. I want more time off. I want to employ another podiatrist, or I need a better team. But here's the thing. Most goals set by the average podiatrist are way too vague. They're really shallow or too disconnected from the real issues that lie underneath. And that's why they're easily forgotten. Usually by the 1st of February, most podiatrists and most people in general have stopped looking at the goals, and they won't give them any consideration until the next December of that year. It's almost like you're on a rinse and repeat cycle. You set the goal, you print it out on your calendar, you may even write it down in a book, and then nothing happens. Because if the root problem that blocked you in the first place isn't identified and solved, you just end up looping year after year. It's sort of like, I don't know if you've seen the movie Groundhog Day, except you're doing, or some people are doing Groundhog Year. What I want to offer on this episode is a better way to plan for 2026. Focus less on setting goals and more on identifying and solving the right problems. So first we're going to talk about the problem-solving mindset. Great businesses and great business owners are usually really good at problem solving. And the most successful clinics I've worked with didn't get that way by setting more aggressive targets. They got there by identifying their one or two biggest bottlenecks in their clinics and then set out to find a way to solve them. So here's the mindset shift I think you need to take on board. A goal gives you direction, but a problem gives you focus. Setting goals is important. I won't say that it's not. They point you toward where you want to go, but identifying a problem gives you clarity on what's actually blocking your progress so you can take focused, high-impact action. For example, in podiatry, let's look at the goal versus the problem. So the traditional way is goal-first thinking. You may say, in 2026, I want to grow my clinic by 20%. Great direction, but it's vague. It doesn't tell you what to fix or where to start. So you might spend more on marketing. You might run a few promotions. You might hire another podiatrist. You may even decide to work longer hours or add an additional day, work weekends, all of which may completely miss the mark of growing your clinic by 20%. So here's a better way, problem-first thinking. Ask yourself this question: what's holding me back from growing right now? If you do a quick audit and realize your patient retention is poor, you're constantly chasing new patients because many of them don't return, your nurturing system for patients who make inquiries may be non-existent, or you have no follow-up process for patients in the, I'm just thinking about it column. They've had the first treatment, but now they're thinking about what they're going to do next. Now you have focus if you've identified those things. So instead of doing just more stuff, you concentrate on solving those specific problems. You improve your follow-up systems. Educate your patients better during the consultations. Tweak your communication and how you make your appointments. Train your team to reinforce your treatment plan message, or implement a nurturing program for potential and existing patients. And here's the shift that really matters. When you start solving a problem, your actions become targeted. You know exactly what tasks you need to do. it also becomes measurable, which is important because if you can't measure something, how do you know if it's ever improving? And it's sustainable. You're not just chasing growth, you're removing friction that's holding you back from growing. So next time you plan for your podiatry business, don't just ask, what do I want? Instead, ask what's getting in the way. Because solving the right problem almost always leads to achieving the right goal. Now, I want to discuss some of the most common problems I see podiatrists facing, many of which disguise themselves as goals. Problem one, patient retention is weak. So you don't need more new patients, you just need to solve why patients aren't coming back. The second problem, you book solid, but you're still not profitable. You don't need to work harder, you need to fix your pricing or upsell to other services while the patient is actually with you. That takes no additional resources or time. Problem three, team members aren't stepping up. So you don't need better people, but you may need better systems, improved training, or you may be able to, maybe you need to delegate with more clarity. Problem four, you feel burnt out. So you don't need a holiday, you just need to solve why your week is draining you so much. Go back and listen to the other episodes if you haven't. 396, 397, and 398. And problem number five is marketing feels random. Now, you don't need more content. Another clever marketing tactic or an email campaign from one of those large coaching companies guaranteeing 30 new patients in the next 7 days is not what you need. Instead, you need to solve your message. What is it you want to say? And you need to know about your ideal patient. Who do you want to share your message with? And then have some strategic thinking around your marketing. Each of these problems is solvable if you spend time thinking about them and not just jumping on the next shiny, bright idea that you see promoted on social media. Now, you can also try using the 3-question planning framework. Instead of writing a big list of goals, try this approach instead. Question 1. What is the biggest friction point in my podiatry business right now? Not what's annoying you the most, what's actually blocking your progress. Question 2. If I solved this one problem, what would open up for me and my business? You're looking for high impact leverage here. And the third question is, what is one strategic action I can take to begin solving this problem in question 1? That's it. Simple, clear, and it's all in your control. One problem, one clear priority, one actionable plan. And then you can lay your goals over the top of that later. So to give you a real life example, let's say you realize your biggest friction point is a low average transaction value per patient, or also known as your per patient value. Now, if you're not sure what your per patient value is, all you need to do is look at your total gross turnover for the week or the month, and then divide it by the total number of consultations. And you include all consultations, even the consults that were no charge, but you don't count no-shows. When you do that, you'll find that your per patient value is, or your PPV, might be $100, for example. So your old way of planning would have been, my goal is to increase total revenue by 20%. Sounds like a good goal. However, if you make this goal without taking into account your per patient value, it's going to be much harder to actually reach because you don't know what made up that figure. Now, here's the better approach. Here's the problem. My average patient spends too little per visit, and therefore my per patient value is only $100. That's the problem. Strategic action would be review your current service and treatment offerings. Run a campaign highlighting higher value services like orthotics, laser therapy. Maybe it's Swift treatment. Train your team on educating patients on the other services that you offer. You can't just expect your patients to know. I had this problem, well, here's a story. I may have mentioned it on the podcast before, where I had a patient that had been seeing me for a number of years for orthotics, been seeing her from the time she was a little kid up until being an adult. One of the last times she came in before moving out of town, I noticed she had a bandage on her toe. And I said, well, what happened here? She said, I had nail surgery. And I went, oh, right. I said, I didn't see you in the book. Who did you see in my clinic? And she said, oh, I didn't see you. I went and saw my GP. And I went, why didn't you come here? She goes, well, you don't do that sort of thing. You only make orthotics. And because that's the only thing she'd ever seen us do, she was unaware of some of the other services. So back to this list. Train your team on how to upsell. Offering an additional pair of orthotics while organising the first pair is an upsell. But it's also beneficial to the patient if they have different footwear. Offering a biomechanical assessment to a routine foot care patient with painful corns is an upsell. Reminding a routine foot care patient that paraffin wax baths exist and would be beneficial is an upsell. Mentioning you have footwear or open sandals or thongs, they are all upsells. And if you're thinking upselling is tacky, then that is a you problem. If the patient would be better off by taking up that upsell, then you are doing the right thing. Your growth, for example, say 20%, is now tied to solving a problem, improving your patient value or your per patient value, not just wishful thinking. All my coaching clients who regularly measure their PPV, their per patient value, it always goes upwards over time, every single time. It's also important to remember that not all problems are operational. Sometimes it is mental. Maybe your biggest problem is fear of letting go of certain patients or patient types. If you don't want to do home visits anymore or nursing homes, then just stop doing them. If routine foot care is not your thing and you don't enjoy it, slowly reduce the amount of time that you allocate for these patients. If you have some patients that are total tools, they're rude, they're time wasters, get rid of them. Life is too short to be treating people you do not like. Is there resistance to delegation? Are you too scared to let go of some tasks? You think that nobody in your team can do it as good as you. If you keep that thinking, you are going to work yourself to death. Do you have imposter syndrome when it comes to marketing yourself? That feeling that you're not good enough, qualified enough, or successful enough to confidently promote yourself or your podiatry business, even when deep down you know that you are. Imposter syndrome is that internal belief that you're a fraud, or that people will find out that you're not as competent as you think. Even if you have years of experience and you've got proven results year after year of fixing patients. In a podiatry context, this might look like avoiding social media because you think, I'm not polished as other clinics, or not charging what you're worth because you think, who am I to be setting my prices that high? Or maybe downplaying your successes and your qualifications, or feeling like you shouldn't talk about your business because it seems a bit braggy or a little bit pushy. You don't need to be the most experienced, the smartest, or the most confident person in the room to market yourself. You just need to show up authentically, provide value, and let people know that you help and that you care. These inner feelings you have need to be solved, because the inner stuff that goes on within you will always show up in your outer results. As part of your planning for 2026, ask, what personal habit, belief, or mindset is slowing me down? And then ask, what would solving this problem look like? What would it unlock in your life? And if you have a mindset block around money, it is always going to hold you back. Every person I've met that has a negative thought towards money is usually always holding them back, and they will use that as an excuse. Here's your December planning challenge. Don't just set goals, solve problems. Look at your podiatry business and ask, what is really blocking me? What have I been tolerating for way too long? And what would change if I focused on solving that one thing? And if you do that, just that, your 2026 will already be more focused, strategic, and rewarding than any year before it. You can apply this technique to other areas of your life as well. It's not just podiatry, it's not just business. If you set a goal you wanted to lose 10 kilos in 2026, instead of just setting that as a goal, think about solving problems first, especially if you set that same goal in previous years and you have not even come close. If this episode has hit home, please send me a message. Tell me what problems you're planning to solve in 2026. And if you want any help doing it, please schedule a time. Let's have a talk. Go to my coaching page, go to tysonfranklin.com, just follow all the links and organize a free 30-minute chat with me, and we can discuss whatever it is you want to talk about. And if improving your marketing is one of the things you want to do in 2026, once again, go to my website, tysonfranklin.com, and click on events and just have a read through there, see what's coming up. I want to thank you again for joining me for this 4-part solo series. I hope it has lived up to what I promised at the beginning. I hope it's helped you reset, refocus, and rethink the way that you run your podiatry clinic. That's it for me this week. I want to wish you a happy and meaningful end to the year and a powerful start to the next one. And next week, I will be returning for episode 400. Can you believe it? 400 episodes. And it'll be the 7th anniversary of the Podiatry Legends podcast. I will have my first guest for the year. It is Andrew Jacobs. He is an osteopath, but he's written 2 books. One's called Paid Off, and the other one is called Healthy Money. And these books are designed to educate allied health practitioners, including podiatrists, about money and understanding their home lane so they can make small changes and lead to massive financial results. But until then, I want you to look after yourself, look after your family, and I'll talk to you again next week. Bye for now. Okay, here is my final Easter egg for 2025. And it's a quote that I read during the year that I wrote in my brain book. And it says, people don't buy the best solution, they buy the solution they understand the best. So if you think about the treatments that you offer your patients and how you explain it to your patients, if you're getting a high percentage of people not following through with the treatment, then maybe they're not understanding what it is that you're saying. And if you're also hearing that they're going to a different podiatry clinic afterwards or seeing a different healthcare provider to obtain that same treatment, then you've really got to think about the message, how you're putting this out there. Are they understanding what it is that you're talking about? Because people don't buy the best solution, they buy the solution they understand the best. And sometimes the best solution may also be the one that they understand the best if you're explaining it the right way. I hope you get something from that. And if you're listening to this all the way through and you happen to be in the UK and you're thinking of going to the Foot and Ankle Show and you're considering attending my Podiatry Marketing Masterclass, send me an email, tf@tysonfranklin.com. Say, hey, I want to attend the Podiatry Marketing Masterclass. Can you please give me a code that will take off an extra $50 Australian, which is probably about £25-26. Send me the email. I will give you a little code that will give you that discount. Okay. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.